Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am Dr. Nik Nikam. Today, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump and Zelenskyy fireworks at the White House press conference yesterday on February 28, 2025, which was broadcasted all over the world, which was not a very pleasant. Watching that press conference and dialogue between Zelenskyy and Trump, between Vance and Zelenskyy, watching a peace deal negotiations on live television is like watching how sausage is made in a factory. It's not very pleasant. At times, it can get really ugly. It could even make you sick. And that's the way we all felt all over the world, on both sides of the aisle, both sides of the ocean. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you belong to UK or you belong to EU, everybody felt sick. Question is there a path forward? That's what I want to focus upon. Not actually what happened, but what are we going to do with the current situation in order to resolve this war that's been going on for 3 years. In my opinion, it was not in the best interest of world peace to have broadcasted this particular interview in front of the world media before they had completely reached a decision about minerals transactions, about the security questions that Zelenskyy was raising. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And they were ready to sign the papers and shake hands. And anyway, this is like a postmortem analysis after a Boeing 737 crashes. And best thing to do now is what do we do going forward? Let's focus upon that. We didn't even reach the first base. And there are different stages in negotiations to end a war which has been going on for 3 years. The first stage is to get Ukraine to agree upon certain conditions. Of course, Ukraine was adamant about not getting security guarantees from the United States, which I'm going to touch upon in a minute. Then Trump has to sit down with Putin and see what are his demands and what he's agreeable to. Then we bring these two parties together. When they are ready to compromise, then you make a deal. So we haven't even reached the first bit, which was getting Ukraine to agree on certain terms. Now, instead of dissecting words, body languages, meanings, interpretations, posturing, and taking sides, or listening to talking heads on big news media, which are premeditated, politically motivated talking points just to score some brownie points with their audience. Let's move forward and see what is at stake, what can be done, and how this war can be brought to an end. It is clear from what I observed. Zelenskyy wants some kind of a security from the United States government before he can proceed with signing the minerals deal and before sitting down for the negotiations for a ceasefire. But let's understand that this war has been going on for 3 years, fueled by American billions of dollars in terms of arms and ammunition, sort of American boots on the ground. This war has been going on for 3 years. Nobody has ever talked about ending this war except Donald Trump. Trump has been talking from even before he was elected. In fact, he was elected on one of the promises that he made that I am going to fight to bring this war to an end, bring a ceasefire. That has been his intention. And he emphasizes stop the killing of young Russian and Ukraine soldiers. So that's the premises. 3 years this war has been going on. And Zelenskyy wants to bring the past about how ceasefire was done on multiple occasions and they were broken down. But we have to understand the context in which those peace deals were made. They were made during a different administration or lack thereof. They were done during a leadership which really did not exist or have an effective message to Putin when these deals were made. And Zelensky kept emphasizing, well, we had made a deal, Putin broke it. We made a deal, Putin broke it. What is the guarantee that you make a deal and he breaks it? Well, if we bring a ceasefire today and stop killing of soldiers and all, the next step is, it's up to Trump to act upon if Putin were to violate the ceasefire. I think we have to cross that bridge when we get there. We cannot predict what's going to happen in the future. Nobody can predict. But you have to understand, Trump is the only person at this stage who has been talking about peace, who has been talking about stopping the killings of soldiers on both sides, and who is willing to bring Ukraine and Putin to the bargaining table. And that is something that has to be seriously considered, because no one else, nobody in Europe, or UK, or EU can bring about a peace deal when they are talking more and more sanctions against Putin. And also remember, Zelensky cannot continue this endless war without the support of the American military hardware and technology. And Trump has no interest in continuing to supply the military hardware and intelligence because he wants to make a peace deal. He wants to stop this war. He wants Ukraine to rebuild their country with the support of the American businesses, with the support of the military backup by UK and France, which they have promised to do so. What is the ultimatum? As the dust settles down, if Ukraine wants to have ceasefire, stop the killing, and start rebuilding its country with the support of the American businesses and perhaps the businesses from the EU, Ukraine has to decide some hard choices. Do they want America on their side, rebuilding their country, bringing a ceasefire, versus fighting a war with Putin, an endless war with Putin, without the support of the American president, American military, and American intelligence? Yes, he wants some security guarantees, and Trump has emphasized security guarantees are going to come in the form of American businesses doing business with Ukraine, and which will be a significant deterrent. And if Putin were to bypass that, of course, we have to face the consequences then, and Trump has to decide if he wants to confront Putin. But at least for the time being, it will stop the killing, it will bring an end to the war, and it will help Ukraine to rebuild its economy and cities. You see, wars are ugly. Innocent people die, cities are decimated. Yet, at the end, when both parties or multiple parties start running out of resources or start running out of human resources, they all have to come to a bargaining table. The discussions are not going to be pleasant. They are not going to be fancy. They are not a evening television show. It should never be displayed on a public media. All the discussions, fightings, everything should be done behind the doors, and a compromise has to be reached. From a Ukraine point of view, I think the final point they need to think about is, do they want to continue this war with Russia endlessly, with half-hearted support from EU and European countries without the American support? Or rather, they make a peace deal and start rebuilding the cities of Ukraine with the support of the American businesses. I think it is a difficult situation. Yes, America cannot guarantee boots on the ground in Ukraine at this stage. And I think sometimes you have to take a risk, because if you don't take this risk, the other alternative risk can be a total decimation of a much larger portion of Ukraine by the Russian army without American military presence, and that could have lasting repercussions on generations of Ukrainian people. From my perspective, I feel let's put behind our personalities, let's put behind our past and come to a compromise. Because at the end of the day, we are still at the first base, that is, trying to get Ukraine to agree upon certain terms. Trump has to still sit down with Putin and see how far Putin can come to match these demands or compromises. Hopefully, in the coming days and weeks, let's pray for the world peace, that Ukraine will come to terms with the United States and Trump will be able to convince Putin to certain terms and bring about a ceasefire and stop killing of young soldiers on Ukraine and Russian side, and hopefully start rebuilding the economies. It would help both Ukraine to rebuild its economy with American support, and it will also help Russia to stop their military confrontation and focus on internal economic matters. Dr. Nik Nikam, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for our analysis of critical issues happening all across the globe that is of interest to human peace and prosperity.